The storm drakes of Legion seem almost forgotten, but are they a prime example of the price that Raszageth warned us about? We make no secret here at the campfire about our feelings on the questionable motivations of the Titan Forged, Odyn himself being no exception. Let's look together then at what fate befell these Stormdrake kin, and see what it could inform us about their future role within World of Warcraft. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and come, take a seat by the fire. For those who forgot, or perhaps missed this powerful and striking brood of dragons in Legion, the Stormdrakes can primarily be found nesting within the mountains of the Broken Shore. Their cave-like homes stretch from Suramar to Stormheim, and while as intelligent as any of the aspected flights, they are not always so friendly. When these drakes were first revealed in Legion, it was everyone's first look into an intelligent dragon brood that did not belong in one of the 5 flights we had become so accustomed to. While we had seen Nether, Twilight and Chromatic drakes, they were all some derivation of the 5, either corrupted or amalgamated. With the proximity to the Vrykul, and some of the Drakajar seen riding them, it was assumed that these were perhaps drakes that were uplifted by Odyn, in much of the same way that Tyr had uplifted the 5 aspected flights. This, however, was never confirmed, and likely not the case, as you will see. Odyn, during his time in the guise of Havi, told us these storm drakes were born from the gods themselves, and Odyn has shown himself to believe only in the godlike titans. So these drakes have a titanic origin, but not in the same way as those aspected by Tyr. How then do we reconcile this enigma? This leads us back to something recently revealed, when Tyr said that the water infused with arcane magic, in order to purify it from the corrupted blood of Yogg-Saron, had an additional effect. This would be to gently bring in line even the most willful dragons to the more titanic way of thinking. We see this clearly in the nesting area of the mountains of Thaldraszus. The water that flows from Tyrhold, infused with order magic and pumped throughout the Dragon Isles. We have already covered its effects on the ruby life pools. As can be seen, the water that flows through the ancient nesting grounds of these storm drakes is most definitely infused. When the Titan Keepers were establishing order to dragonkind, even those flights not chosen to be aspected guardians would be forced to swear fealty. Those who refused the Titan gift fought a war for their independence, like the Incarnates, a war that ultimately they lost and were imprisoned for. It is likely then these storm drakes were once the proto-storm dragons that decided to comply rather than fight. It was that or face imprisonment, or worser fates. The keepers allowed them to roost nearby. This would ensure they drank of the infused waters. It would inevitably change them, and their descendants, forever. The effects of this water are not just compliance as we see, but also physiologically. They change to be recognizable evolved forms that we have come to know, along with some increased intelligence and a more docile demeanor. As it appears that dragon broods often do, they spread their wings and migrate to new areas to call home. Whether the Titan Forged allowed this new, more evolved form of dragon to do so, seeing them as a non-issue, now they have been brought more in line, or perhaps they could no longer do anything about it. The tenuous grip they held over the world had begun to slip. The infighting from the Winterscorn War, Loken's Great Betrayal, the Curse of Flesh, and further failures to name a few more pressing matters. Perhaps it was just something that slipped through the cracks. Although Odyn was close by, he would have kept a watchful eye over their activity, even sending us on many of the world quests involving them. The incarnate's methods are cruel and unreasonable. The Primalist followers are expendable and needlessly brutal, but at the core of the issues, we have to say we agree with them. Going from reasonably skeptical of the Titan Forged, given their history, but always believing that on the whole, they would consider the needs of the mortals they share the world with, to now, the infused water and its coercive quality, mind control devices, invasive species interference, and propaganda machine. I need not go on. It makes us a little more sympathetic now to Nidhogg and his rebellious brood in the northern reaches of Stormheim. The adventure guide told us how he left the other storm drakes after they swore fealty to the Titans. Refusing to be a subject, he would increase his power, bide his time, much like Raszageth. So now we have gone over their history and the Titan involvement in it. What could the future possibly hold for these storm and thunder dragons? Well, we propose for once an actual positive outcome. I know a lot of our speculation here is concentrated on the darkness that could be unleashed, but it is worth mentioning when the outcome could very well be a positive one. While the Titan manipulation of dragons is abhorrent, it has united dragonkind in ways we cannot begin to imagine. Valdrakken is the greatest proof of this. All the flights, each bringing their own unique way of doing things to create a better place for everyone. Let's look then at the highest peak of the city proper, the seat of the aspects. A circle to make sure each leader has an equal voice to be heard, so that one flight's needs are not put above the others. However, there is clearly a space for more than 5. Upon seeing this, we assumed the extra seats were for Tyr, or perhaps other keepers to have a voice. However, at this point, the Titan Forged voice has no place here. Instead, once the incarnates are dealt with one way or another, perhaps it is time to give a voice to the flights that were never given one. Thrym Yaris or Vethir would be perfect as proven and reasonable leaders to represent the elemental drakes. It is worth mentioning that a lot of talk has been had about the possibility of the Twilight Flight having a seat at the table too. While this would line up with our other speculations on the future of us working with the Void in some way, at least to face a greater threat, it still feels like an unlikely shot in the dark, but not an impossibility. The Void Drakes were designed in their very nature to be vampiric. They feed on the very magic that sustains other dragons, making their nature quite antithetical. Blizzard said this expansion would end on a less darker note, that we will leave our dragon allies better than we found them. This then would be the perfect way to do this, as well as to reintroduce some characters that are sorely missed, and setting up the potential for many more stories in the future. As we have talked about a lot in our recent videos, we are going to be needing all the allies we can get for what is to come. I can't wait for everyone else's theories on how the story of Dragonflight will end. What do you think? Could the elemental dragons be finally given a seat at the table? Perhaps you are sure the Twilight Flight deserves their spot. Don't hesitate to let us know in the comments, or even on the Discord. And don't forget to come back anytime.